so we started lending in 1986, actually, and we started out with what we called our micro enterprise loans. They were for $1,000 or less, and they didn't really require a business plan or anything, just kind of tell us what you're doing, and we took as collateral whatever they had, car titles. I said I think we had the car titles to every junk car on the reservation, and we made a lot of those right off the bat. And you know, I think especially in those days, I mean, everybody thought of everything was a grant program, and I think a lot of people didn't think that they would have to pay them back. And then our second loan was what we called our small business loans, and they were for up to $10,000, and they required, and you think, what can you do for $10,000? Well, actually, quite a bit. But so those ones we decided we should provide some technical assistance, and it didn't really amount to too much, but. And boy, needless to say, I mean, right off the bat, we had a whole bunch of delinquencies within, you know, the 3 months. And the story I always tell was we had a foundation that came down to visit us, and we were trying to get funding from them. And they asked what our delinquency rate was. Well, we'd only been lending for, you know, a month or so, and it was 0 at that point. And they asked what we thought, if delinquency would be a problem, and Gerald, our executive director, said, no, I don't think it will ever be a problem. And within 3 months, I mean, we had about 85% on our delinquency rate. So we were like, we better figure this out. And, but, so not long after, about a year after we started lending, we did a survey of all of our borrowers, and it showed that 85% of them had never had a checking or savings account. 75% had never had a loan, and 95% of them had no business experience. So, you know, we're like, okay, that's probably why we're having a hard time. I mean, you know, we just really, how clueless we were is kind of hard to describe. But this really, when we did that survey, I mean, that really told us, as well as, you know, our funders, this is going to be a hard job, and we had better figure out a way that we're going to build capacity as much as make loans, and that loans were really probably the secondary thing, or even the third thing that we should do in our work. And so, you know, after some years, we decided we're going to quit selling poverty. We're going to start talking about how do we create wealth. And, you know, we decided we're about community capacity building. And if that's the case, who else is doing community capacity building? I mean, there's a college, there's, you know, almost everybody that has an organization there. It's about changing our community. And so we began to think in terms of that, and really did put the loans secondary. We turned it upside down. You know, in the beginning, we had a lot of money from the Ford Foundation that was to be lent out. So the first report we'd have to give was, how many loans did you make? When in truth, it should have been, how many people did you get into financial literacy training, financial management skills, teaching about that? Getting people to this point where they're sort of financially viable or ready to be in business. So it was the credit builder loans, getting their credits cleaned up. Along with that came financial literacy training. I mean, and that was a requirement to even get the loan, still is. And then home buyer education, so if people want to get to this point where they can be home buyers. So here's just a few of the successes, real results, I say. That the Dakota Fund has made over 880 loans, totaling nearly $7 million. And right now, they have a delinquency that's less than 2%. Now that is pretty astounding. I have to say, that wasn't always the case. I mean, at one point we said if we could get to 25%, we'd be really happy there. But you know, over time, the Dakota Fund has been steadfast about how they make their loans, how they build the expertise of their borrowers, and they've collected on loans. I mean, we made that decision early on, is that somebody wasn't paying back, we were going to go after them some way. We were going to make them pay. And it took a long time to change attitudes, because, and you know, it was, you know, they would go to the tribal council members sometime and complain that we were but our policies said they had to, and really, you know, that was all it ended up being, was complaints. And we used the tribal court systems, and we really, you know, helped the tribal court to prove, we helped them kind of become a good court system where debt collection was concerned. Because that is so important. If people can't borrow money, they're not ever gonna be able to buy a home, a car, start a business, any of that. So, I mean, we really felt like we were, you know, doing the right thing, and by, you know, making sure that people understood that we were serious about them repaying. And it doesn't mean it's easy, not even. It's hard, and it's still hard, but better, much better than it used to. And 650 people have completed financial literacy, home buyers, and business planning. And a total, they've only been doing the IDA program for about 3 years, so, but they've, a total of 156,000 has been saved through the IDA program since 2010. That, you know, may not seem like a lot either, but actually it is a lot, because it's only up, you know, it's, I forget what the maximum they can save, I think it's like 12,000. So, you know, and it's a start. It again is not an easy program, but it's something that we think is really necessary. Individual development account, and it's a match savings program. And I think in this case they match it for every dollar the person saves, they match it 3 times. And so they instituted this credit builder loan because sometimes it was just simple little things, you know, last payment that they didn't make on a credit card, or you know, various things. And some of it was more serious, but they instituted that. They had to get the credit builder loan, they had to take financial management skill training. But they helped increase the average credit score by 18.5%. So it was really, really helpful. And these 2,000 youth have completed financial literacy training. A couple of the programs there actually required all their staff to go through it. The tribe had some of their staff go through this training. So, you know, overall, it's starting to increase financial management skills. So here's another one at the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe up in kind of the northern part of the state. And it's 4 bands, community fund. And they really used the Lakota Fund as a model. In fact, they came down and talked to us a lot. And, you know, we would say, you know, don't do this, or, you know, make sure you do this. And so they really, you know, they learned a lot. It didn't take them near as long to kind of get to this point where they were making an impact, because they had learned, you know, they took advantage of the lessons we learned. And developing Native American entrepreneurship and helping tribal economic growth. And they were started in 2000, and they made their first loan in 2002, and they became certified by U.S. Treasury CDFI fund in 2002. Now, I want to clarify what certified as U.S. Treasury's CDFI fund. The CDFI fund was part of a bill that was passed in Clinton administration, and it was the Community Development Banking Act. And they created this agency that would help community development loan funds get started in communities. And they have a certification process. They do have a certification process. And you can get some of their funding just when you're starting up. You don't have to be certified. But if you want to go on and get some of the other primary funding, you have to be certified. You have to meet certain eligibility requirements. And so that's what this means when it says certified by Treasury in 2002.